Okay. Thanks, Oleg. So, hello everyone again. Hello people that here offline. Hello people that are in the room online with us. It's really cool to meet you all. We haven't met in a long period of time, and I'm grateful for Oleg for such possibilities. I'm grateful for a community that is here in Lviv for possibilities to grow, to develop yourself and develop a big community that can achieve strong results. And I hope we will do great things together. So I'm also want to say thanks to Ukrainian army forces that are defending us, and we have the possibility to be here just only thanks to them. So today we will speak about the Einstein bots and how they are used in the Salesforce. So in general, this presentation is oriented at the people with zero experience in the field, and it's oriented on the developers, admins, and also sales, because they can deepen their knowledge in this topic. So our plan for today is the following. I will now open the presentation, and if any questions will appear in the Zoom meeting, Nasty will read me them. So yeah, there might be a slight delay in the answers. So objectives of today's meeting is as follows. We will have a short introduction. We will discuss what is chatbot in general. We will see how the Einstein bot works in the ecosystem, how to configure them. And we will also have a pretty cool demo, I guess. I hope so. We will see how they work in the community side and how to build them from the backend side. After that, we will have a Q&A session and a small break. So let's proceed. As I said, we will start from the basics, and let's imagine that there is a company that sells electronic devices, and let's name this company Pineapple. So the Pineapple have an old Salesforce ecosystem with community, and they have a problem. So each time when user submits a case, he submits it through the forum on the community, and the support team, dedicated support team, has to cover these cases through every time, because there are a big flow of cases coming to them. And the Pineapple is a fast-paced growing company, and that solution is really inappropriate in that situation when you have such a big company. So they came up with the idea that the innovation should come here. And that was the moment when they decided that they need Einstein bots. So they invested some money, some time, and as a result, here what they get. So now they have the possibility for users to enter their community and to make all of the required action just from one button, from the chatbot button. So now, at the moment when the user enters his email, the Pineapple company already knows everything about him. I mean, everything that the company stores about him. So his previous purchases, his cases that he opened before, maybe some conversations with the support agents that he had before. And thanks to that, the load on the support team increased significantly, because now people don't need to handle the cases where, I don't know, user can ask the question, what is the status of my case? And the support agent should handle this case. This is not how it works right now. Right now, they have the automatization that just simplifies this process at all, like significant progress. And not only that process is simplified, but also the quality of the experience that the user receives also increases because of this is just new technologies, like everybody uses the chatbots right now. And we can proceed and discuss the basics concept of the chatbot as itself. So
sorry, Andrii, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Can you please share your screen also?
Okay, sorry. Okay, we can proceed then. Sorry for the short break, but yeah. Let's start with the basic concept. The chatbot is an application that simulates the conversation between the customer and the computer. So instead of involving a real employee to the chats with customer, we can delegate this to computer. What is the benefits? The benefits are that the chatbot reduces the load to the support and allows you to avoid repeating questions, as we discussed at the beginning of the presentation. And it should be definitely understood that the chatbot doesn't replace the person at all. So you will still need to have the dedicated team that will handle the complicated requests from the user. But it will definitely reduce the number of these like simple requests that are coming to the bot, even some complicated requests that we will cover later. So chatbots in Salesforce are called Einstein Bots, and they are powered by NLP, which stands for Natural Language Processing, and NLU, which stands for Natural Language Understanding. And on the back end, it is powered by the Salesforce AI layer called Einstein. So usually bot is located on the company's website, maybe in the mobile phase tab or on the community. So it depends on the customer needs. And bot can be used to answer questions, provide FAQs, to take different data from the Salesforce org, or even to create the records of different objects. That also depends on the client's needs, but we need to understand that this is not just a basic screen to show information. This is a tool that can interact with the user both sides, from user to the Salesforce system and back on. So if you speak about the licenses that we need to create the Einstein Bot, we will definitely need the Service Cloud license, and we will have to buy a messaging or a chat license. Now, when we know the basics, we can proceed with some more complicated stuff of how the bots are developed. And the first step that I like to mention is the planning. So as we know, planning is the crucial step in developing of any type of things in the Salesforce, and without a good planning, we will not achieve expected results. So first comes technical planning. You need to think and make a list of problems that the bot will solve in your org, like which records will be created, which automations can be run by the bot. We need to think what we will use at the backend, because we can use Apex or flows, and we need to find out the solution for this problem. Also, we need to consider if you're building the big bot that will handle different requests from the user, we need to consider using the knowledge articles. And what is meant by that? This is just a set of the information that can be provided to user. And as we know, Salesforce always introducing new things to his tools, and the knowledge articles is really you can take a lot of benefits from working with the knowledge articles right now with the Salesforce, because it's now powered with AI. And when user asks a question, it's pretty easy for the bot to understand what knowledge article corresponding to that question in general. Also, speaking about the planning, there is such thing, and it's named intents. We will speak more in depth later about it, but in general, this is what user wants to achieve speaking with your bot. So the question, what is the status of my order, can be a pretty good example of intent, because user intends to gain the information about his order and to receive the status. It is also very important at the beginning of development to develop a chatbot script. This is actually a big document that includes all of the information on how the bot works, and it includes all of the paths that bot can go. It's called conversation flow, and it's usually provided by the clients, and the developer can rely on this document as the first source of truth. As for me, when I start developing the bots, I usually try to go through my 5 steps flow. So I consider it necessary to have this kind of flow in different situations. So I will describe mine for you now. So the first step is to think about customer intentions that we speak about just before, and to make a list of them to be able to use them in the future in the bot itself. The second step is the planning. The third step, and it's really crucial one, is it's called data. So it's actually think about how is your data, what is the flow of the data between the bot, between the user, and between the Salesforce org. So this is a crucial step, because the Einstein Bot uses its own separate profile, and you have to configure permissions depending on what you need. And to create or to read, for example. If the user that is coming to the bot wants to create a case, will he be able to do so? And will the bot will be able to give the information to user about the created case from other user, for example? That should be considered. The step number 4 is the identification, and it might sound not that important, but if we have 10 companies, for example, and they all use the same identica for their own bots, the company that have its own identica will definitely be more noticeable. So Salesforce doesn't provide us with a lot of possibilities to modify the look and feel of the widget itself. We can modify like icons, fonts, colors of the appearance, and etc. Not that much, but we still can do some manipulations with code. And also we can do, for example, that simple thing as adding the emojis to your text, because it will just make the black text a little bit more interesting, adding the emojis, if you can allow it to yourself. Okay, so that sounds interesting, but now we need to move on to, let me quickly change the slide. And probably open the camera. Okay, now we can move to the point that says how the bot works and how we can create the bot. So at the beginning of the bot creation, we need to definitely buy licenses for the bot and then open the setup. And there is a tab named Einstein Bots. So you can see it on the screen on the left side. There is a button to enable those bots, but sometimes this button can be not there. In that case, you need to connect to support and they will open you this availability to work with bots. After you click on the button U, it will just guide you through the pretty simple basic wizard. You just have to give the name to the bot, some maybe small description, and maybe if you want to build the intro menu, it will also allow you to do so. And before starting, so after you complete the step, you will have just like a basic version of a flow, just of a bot, just a bot that can do nothing, but it will be there with all of the connections that he needs. And okay, and what is required to do next is to think about what tools are used in the bots. So there are several main things. Sorry, not this slide. Okay, there are several main bricks that the bot is built on, and the first of them is the dialogues. So what is the dialogues? You can think about the dialogues as the smaller but the most important bricks of the bot in general. So the dialogue is just a like a construction that consists of several messages. For example, you have you want to greet your customer and to say hello and show him the menu with different buttons like create a case or to connect to an agent. When you want to do so, you will have the one dialogue with the message that is greeting the customer and with those buttons. So as you understand from this point, the dialogues consist of different messages and different actions. So speaking of actions, this is the second important brick of the flows because of the bots, because without manipulating the data, you will just show the messages to the user, which is not that cool. You know, it's not why the bot were created. So what actions can do? They can run the APIs, for example, or they can run the flow, or maybe do some manipulations with the variable. That's why the actions are used, just to do some stuff. And by the way, I prefer to work with the flows when working with the Einstein bots because it's just the perfect combination of two tools that Salesforce every time innovates. The flow is the best solution, and the Einstein bot it's also a really good addition to the flows. After the actions, we definitely should have something to store the value that we collected from the users. So we have the variables, but alongside with the variables, we are using the entities. So what is the entities? Let's say user have the input for the message, and the message is the type of text. we should know that this message only accepts the type text. So this is the entity. The entity represents one type of variable that can be stored somewhere. For example, we need to ask a user to enter a phone number. We will have an entity of the time phone number, then we will have a variable of the same time, and this entity will store the variable, will store the value in the variable. So those were three crucial but simple bricks, and then we have intents and utterances. Those are more interesting because they are at least related to the AI. So what is intents? We can think of intents as a, as I said before, as the things that user wants to achieve in our org, in our bot. So let's say we have just a normal conversation with the chatbot where user presses some buttons or answers the question yes or no. But in the specific moment of the chat with our chatbot, users realizes that bot not covering his needs at all. So at any moment of the chat, he just types, for example, transfer me to the agent. Without any AI on the backend, it will be just considered as a regular text, and the bot will probably fail because he will not understand what's happening. But having the intents is just a list of words, let's say, of maybe phrases. And when we build this list of phrases, we can put one intent to specific dialogue, for example. And we will have the dialogue that is named transfer to an agent that will be covered by intents that contains all the sentences that user can possibly write to transfer him to an agent. Not all the sentences, but Salesforce asked us to write us from 20 to 150 intents for sentences for one intent. And when we, after that, train our model, it's really just one button. It's not that hard. The bot will understand that if the user types this specific type of sentence, he needs to transfer him to the dialogue where this intent is, I don't know, responsible for. So this is intents, but those little phrases that intents consist of also has their name, and they called utterances. So utterances is any type of phrases that we can think of. So let's say I can type yes. This is a pretty straightforward word, but I can type also yep, which is the slang word. And if we only work with the yes, sometimes different cases cannot be covered. So that's why we use utterances to cover slang, to cover users typos or his mistakes that he made. Okay, so that was about the Einstein bot in general, in really simple. Now I suggest that we proceed with the small demo. Okay, give me 1 second. This one. Okay, so what I want to show you is the simple bot that lies on the experience side. So let me open it. Okay, so let's say we have some client. Don't mind the front end, it's just the text. So bots usually place it here on the right side, where the embedded chat services usually place it. So when user clicks the button chat with the bot, the screen will pop up for him. So let's say I am the first time user. I need to fill my information. And if you notice, this is the incognito window. So user is a guest user. Okay, when I press start chat, the chat redirects me to the Einstein bot. And we cover all of the dialogues, how they are in the order that they are placed in our bot builder. And right now we are going to check how it works. And afterwards, I will show you how it works on the backend side. So as you can see, those messages on the top here and here, this is the messages from the first dialog. Let's say this dialog might be named, I don't know, intro menu. So this is one dialog. When I click on this button cases, it will redirect me to the different dialog where the cases are stored. So this is the case that was created for me when I entered the chatbot. I've named my company Test Company, and the case was created for that, for my interaction with the chatbot. So when I click it, it will take the information from the Salesforce with the case number, subject, and the status. When we click add comment, it will modify the record in the Salesforce. Let's say we want to add test. And the case will be updated in the Salesforce also. Just let's give it, yeah, your comment has been added. And let's say right now, my problem wasn't solved. I still need some interactions with real people. So I can type just agent, and this is where the intents are going to play. The bot will redirect me to the real agent. So in the different tab, I have opened my service console. Sorry. Let's reload it. With my user as a support representative. So he will receive the notification of the upcoming chat. Okay, it's on the bottom here. So I received the notification in the Omni channel that this user that we entered the mail of is going to chat with me. So let's say the support agent accepts that. He will now be transferred to the case with some messages. So let's say I type test. Now our guest user will receive the same message with the information about his support agent. The same goes for the other way. We type test and we receive message here. Speaking about the cases that were created, the comment was added here, and the case is in the status open because we are still in the conversation with the representative. So when the support representative ends chat, the chat is also ends here, and the user can give a brief feedback or just close the chat. So that is the basic example of the implementation of the chatbot. Now let's see how that works at the backend. So from the setup, when you go to the Einstein Bots, you will see something like that. Let me open. This is the main page of the bots. Second, I will hide the screen. Print it on the bottom. This is the main page of the with the bot information. So we can see that the conversation language right now is English, but we can also add the dialog translations for more languages. We can see that we have connection and we don't require the agent offline. So that means that users still can operate with our chatbot even without support agent offline. But if there will be no available agents when the user asks to speak with the representative, he will be just redirected to the form for the case creation to wait for the support agent. So here we can see these bricks that we talked about. Let's take a look at the dialogues first. So the dialogues are pretty simple. This is a group of dialogues, and the group consists of several dialogues. So let's take a look on the welcome dialog. We can see that there is a message block here, which corresponds for sending a message to user. By the way, you cannot edit activated bots, so let's deactivate it. And adding messages to the bots is pretty simple. You just click here and add a new message. The same goes for the actions and the for the actions and for the questions. So if you want to add some flow here, we just go to the tab. Yeah, sometimes it's buggy, and add flow. Then we search from our flows and just work with them. If you have some variables that can be passed to the flow, they appear here under the selected flow, and that's it. The variables will be passed to the flow, the information will be worked on, and then the results will be back to will get back to the chatbot. If you speak about the entities, let's see. Yes, abandon these changes. Let's see how the entities looks. So those are the system entities, but we have a custom one here. And this is the entity for email. So that means that every time that when we have a field of type of email, when we want to receive an email from user, we will use this entity. And as you can see, we're using the regex pattern here just to validate the input from the user. And that means that entities are not variables. Like with this type of entity, I can create a lot of variables, but we have only one entity per specific variable. Now let's move to the, in my opinion, the most interesting part is intents. So let's say we have the dialog when we want to transfer our user to the agent. We can have a dialog here, transfer to an agent. And we want to open this dialog every time the user types transfer me to an agent or etc. So we go here and we enable Einstein for this specific dialog. After that, there is a tab named dialog intent. We can go here and we can use our intents on this dialog. As you can see, the intent that is used here is named transfer to an agent. If you go to setup, there is a tab named intents, Einstein's intent sets, intent sets, sorry. And they are stored in the different groups. And our intent set is this, transfer to an agent. And it contains all of the utterances that the user can enter to transfer him to an agent. We can see them in the bot itself. If you scroll down, this is the list of messages that can be sent from the regular users to be transferred to the support representatives. And if you building a brand new bot, after adding this intents, it's not the end. You have to still go to the model management. This is a tab that represents the Einstein training, and press here, build the model. It will take some time, but it will go through all of your intents and all of your utterances, and it will teach the model to be able to manage all of your requests. You also should consider that you not always have to create your intent model. Sometimes there is a really simple bots that can be manipulated by the buttons and just the simple messages. Like, it's not always should be that complicated. Sometimes it can be easier. Yeah, at that moment, that would be it. So do you have any questions right now?
Yes. Where is the real in since we based this intents, we search on the exact string and redirected based on the result. But where is in view here?
Yeah, so I will repeat the question to the people that are online. So the question is, where is in the view itself if we provide the list of intents even before the model training? Yes. Okay. So yeah, it's hard to understand on the basics examples. So there is actually no need in NLU with the entrances like yes or yep. Yeah, that's correct. But let's say we are speaking about longer sentences. So NLU is understanding of what user enters, like in general. And here NLU is at that moment when we, for example, we enter like 20 intents. We don't want to spend that much time on building all the possible sentences that user can think of. And having these 20 intents, the model will train itself to, based on those words or those phrases that we have in those sentences, create a really simple model, because 20 intents is not enough for a good model, but that will be a pretty straightforward model. In the case where the words will be on different places, for example, it will still be understood by the bot. If you want to build a good model, and if you have a lot of intents, in future, it will allow us to not only understand the words, the list of the sentences that we have already, but it will help us to understand the sentences that are slightly look like that, like the sentences that we have. So in that case, we can operate all of the possible, like not all of the, it's not possible to operate all of the questions from the user, but at least most of them.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, yeah.
Is it possible to create some app exchange package with like configured dialogues, lots of models, actions, and so on? So someone can buy that app exchange package and have a lot of ready-made flows.
Okay, I will repeat the question. So the question is it possible to make the app exchange product with the Einstein Bot, with all of the dialogues built on the Einstein Bots and with the flows that we built for that? So if you speak about the Salesforce side, it's definitely not a problem. But if you speak about the Einstein Bot, the answer from my side would be I'm not sure, because I haven't done that. But I have done the deployment of the bots, and the metadata is stored the same as it's stored for flows, for example. So I suppose we can do that, but I cannot answer with the 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are those bots available for internal users?
You mean speaking to the, oh, sorry, question. So the question is, are the bots available to the internal users? And you mean
Sales service agents.
yeah. So even if you're logged in, I can, for example, right now I show you the example from the anonymous window, but I can log in from my user and speak with myself. I have a conversation, yeah, with myself. That would be fun. Okay, any more questions?
First, are there any license consideration?
License considerations. Okay, so about licenses, so you will definitely have to obtain the Service Cloud license and then the chat or messaging license. I'm not sure about the prices right now, so will not tell you about this, but you will definitely need those licenses to work with the bot.
Okay, next question. Is there a limitation or number of entries?
Yes, so there is a limitation of number of dialogues. So you can not create like numerous dialogues and build a really big bot. So there are cases where developer creates two bots, for example, because he exceeds the number of the possible dialogues. So in some moment of the conversation with the bot number one, he will have to redirect user to the second bot to avoid the limits. So yeah, there is limitations in the bot.
Okay, and the last one in chat, should utterances be a sentence or could be just keywords?
Yeah. So in general, it shouldn't be the sentences. It's the best if the utterances are the keywords. And yeah, it can be keywords.
That's it from chat. Thank you.
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
You mentioned that Einstein Bot supports multiple languages. How it works?
Okay, the question is that I mentioned that Einstein Bot supports multi-languages and how it works. I can tell you a lot about this because right now we have a project with support of the four languages. So we have English, Dutch, French, and Germany. So at the beginning, you develop your bot we developed our bot at English. So it was the basic version. And I cannot show. Yeah, I can show it. Yeah, let's quickly check if we have a few more seconds. It's not that hard. It takes time to configure it, but it's not complicated at all. So if you go to the Einstein Bot, each dialogue here, for example, let's say this dialogue, you'll have a tab dialogue translations. When you click here, you will have a possibility. Let's say we have, oh yeah, it's a lot of languages here. So let's say we are building the English bot and we build everything on English. After that, we want to go and build the French bot. So we just click here and let's say this field wasn't filled at the moment when I opened it. Okay, so the idea is that you open the language here that you need to translate bot to, for example, French. You compare it to English, and it will show you all the possible places where this message can show up. And if this field is empty, that means that this message is not translated to the French language. And that means that you can just type your translation here, and when user selects different language, it will appear in different language. If we speak about how to programmatically set the language in the bot, we have a system variable here that stands for language. 1 second. Okay, so there is a variable named current conversation language, and it's a system variable, and it accepts all of the language codes that the bot supports. And for example, you can create a dialog at the beginning with the possibility for user to select the language that he wants. Then when user clicks the button, we store this value at the variable, and then we use the action to set this variable into variable named current conversation language. And the bot will, there is an action named set, there is an action specifically to set the conversation language of the bot, and it will just translate all of the parts to that language that you selected.
And could the user
Yeah.
choose language in a pre-chat window?
No. So in the pre-chat window, it's not possible. It's actually used, pre-chat window is used to collect information from the user that is useful for us, like to match him by the email, for example, like we did. So it's just the window where we collect some information, not really just basic information from the users. Go ahead.
Is it possible to configure the Einstein Bot to utilize Salesforce knowledge articles? Like if you like we have a conversation and what says, okay, you have to check out this article, or your question is related to this topic.
Yeah. So the question is it possible to configure Einstein bots to utilize the knowledge article and to work with them? Yeah, it's not. So it's really promoted by the Salesforce. Salesforce really wants us to use the knowledge articles with the Einstein bots, and that's why there is a solution. Give me a second. I forgot the name, but I have it written here. So the name of the solution is the article answers. It's kind of new NLP powered solution from the Salesforce that helps users to be integrated with our knowledge base in its fullest. So yeah, I would say it's definitely possible. Yeah.
Can you install bots, Einstein bots in digital experiences when you go on other sites, Facebook Messenger, for example?
Okay, the question is, can we use Einstein bots only in digital experiences, or maybe on the customer websites or some other sites, or Facebook, WhatsApp? So let's start from the beginning. We can use bot on any site because we have the code for embedding it to the customer's site. So yeah, we can use it there. Speaking about the messengers that there are nowadays, I have experience configuring it with the WhatsApp, and you have just speak with the bot in your WhatsApp messenger. It's also possible to configure it with the Facebook Messenger, and that's all, I guess, from what I know from the messengers that I know. It's not possible in Telegram, for example, but yeah, the tools or the apps from Facebook are definitely supported.
I'm sorry, Andrii, we are running out of time. So there's like 3 more questions in chat. So if you quickly, I can read them if you like.
Yeah, great.
There was like, from me, is there any limitation on number of entities? So it's like 1 per variable or something like that, but in total, is there like limitation on them?
Entities, no. So you can create, so let's say we want to collect a phone number, and our company is multinational, so we want to validate phone number based on the country. So we can have different entities for different phone numbers with different regex, let's say.
Okay, so I think like we are good to go. I think like the Maxim question also covered. There was about differences. What is it? It's just about keywords or sentences. So I think you already said it can be a keyword.
Yeah, Oleg, and we have the last question from the here from the audience. So, I can answer it.
Yes, when we, for example, created several intents, then we created model, but our intents contain some specific phrase that means totally different in natural language. What bot will do? Is it will roll to user during our intents, or it will use model and based on standard meaning in natural language?
Yeah, so when we build our intents, there is so
Which priority maybe?
yeah,
Short question.
so there, yeah, sorry, the question is when we create our intent set, and in that intent set we have a really intent that is really not from that set, like slightly different. You mean that?
I mean, yes, I mean, meaning of our intents totally different from natural language.
Ah, okay.
With some specific questions, maybe some industry.
Okay,
terminology.
I see. Yeah, so the question is that meaning of our intents is really different from what we have in the real world. And yeah, about that, I can say that this is a problem in general of the processing of some specific industries. So there are moments where AI is not that powerful right now. So I don't know about like how Einstein is built on the backend because we don't have access to this. But I suppose that we can have problems with that if we speak about some specific industry. If you speak about the bad quality of intents, there is a score that shows you how good your intent set, but it will not show you the quality of your sentences and if they're meaningful for the bots. So yeah, that can be a problem.
Maybe we will able to mark some intents as important without any exceptions.
Yeah, the studying with the teacher, right? It's like that. Yeah, so we can do that, but yeah, okay. I will not lie here. I'm not sure, so I have to check this.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.